What is up? Welcome to the Monday Legacy Life Call. I appreciate you guys for being on here, and things are rocking and rolling. It's hard to believe that it's already June 10th. We're already creeping on halfway through the year, which is nuts. Feels like it was just Christmas. So, yeah, just jumping in here, talking about our top salespeople for the month so far. Currently, and this is 10 days in. Mike Guerra is our number one personal producer for the month of June so far. Andre is number two. Andre Lee. Janet Brush is number three. Dave Fleming is number four. Aaron Wilson is number five. So congratulations to you guys, and let's keep kicking butt. Last month was a pretty solid month. Could have been more solid, but it was a solid month. And yeah, guys. So David is finishing up an application right now, so he's out there. He's making it happen. He's doing the work, and I'm going to we're just going to hang out on here for a few minutes until David hops on. But for those of you guys that were with us in Denver. Hopefully you've been able to recover. We did go through a lot of information in an 8-hour time frame. We went through a lot of stuff and hopefully added a lot of value for everybody. So appreciate you guys for we had people flying in from all over the country to that event, and I think we truly delivered. So appreciate y'all. And here's what I would say, guys. We're coming up on halfway through the year, and maybe your year is going exactly how you wanted it to go. Maybe you're exceeding the goals that you set for yourself at the beginning of the year, or maybe it hasn't gone maybe as quickly as you wanted to. And so I'm just here to tell you that you can start over at any time. You can hit the reset button at any time, and maybe that's right now, maybe it was last month, maybe it's next month. But if you want 2024 to be a just kick butt year for you, for your family, for everything that you're trying to do, trying to accomplish, let's dial it in. Let's dial it in. Like, this business is absolutely incredible. You can get whatever you want to get out of this business. You can make as much money as you want to make if you're willing to do the work. If you're willing to make the dials, put in the hours, go make this thing happen. It's not going to happen to you, all right, but it can happen, through you, by you putting in the effort. So let's buckle down. Let's finish the month strong, but let's finish the year strong. Let's finish the quarter strong, all that good stuff. And the guy that I'm gonna bring up here to talk for a little bit today, and I think it'll probably be pretty short, pretty sweet today, to the point, so we can all get to work. I know he's got a bunch of stuff going. Like I said, he's just got done putting an application in, and this is somebody who is not only talking the talk, but he is walking the walk. Okay, like, he is day in, day out. He's doing the business. He's building this thing. He is making things happen. He's starting to grow his organization. And for those of you guys that are working with David, you know what kind of a guy he is, and just how good he is, not only at doing it. There's a lot of people out there that are really good at doing something, but he's also good at teaching it. And in this business, if you really want to build a big agency, a big organization, it's not really about how good you are. It's about how good you can be at getting a lot of other people to do the same thing. And so David has just been, he's leading from the front. He's leading by example. He's going to be probably the top rookie in the entire alliance this year, if not top 1, 2, 3, basically, for sure. Just the amount of work and the amount of success that he's having. So David, we're honored to have you on here. You talk as long as you want to talk about whatever you want to talk about, bro. We appreciate you. Thanks for hopping on, bro.
Well, I apologize, everyone, for being late. My apologies, Nick. Thanks for taking over on all this, and hope everyone had a great time in Denver. Definitely wish I would have been there. Looked like everyone had an amazing time at that Legacy Life training as well. And thanks for taking a few minutes to jump on here today. Yes, good old Mary got $97 a month of Moo IUL approved. So I apologize running a couple minutes late on that. But yeah, so Nick and I were talking earlier today of just a couple things to hopefully be helpful for those of us that haven't met. I got started here just over a year ago, February of last year. Had never done life insurance before. Been good friends with Nick for my wife and his wives, our wives. Nick and I have been friends for going on like 15 years. So very grateful for him. For anyone that's gotten to work with him, you understand, the wealth of knowledge that he has and everything else. And I just really tried to learn as much as I could, as we kind of also applied a lot of, what it takes to go and have success. I personally do everything virtually. We certainly don't have all the answers, are continuing to, learn and grow and try to get better each month, but have had a lot of fun along the way, and have now kind of turned this into replacing the previous business's full-time income that we had before. And I just very grateful for Nick, very grateful for all the other leaders that have built the system that we have with Legacy Life, and I'm just very grateful to get to plug in and be one of many people that are having success here. I recognize a lot of the names on the call, a lot of people having success over here. So if you're brand new, or even plugged in with us for several months, maybe even several years, these calls are just really helpful to fine tune little things here and there. A couple things that I want to talk about today are just some things that'll help with consistency, and then a few things that maybe are just the most common objections that you're facing. Because I think you got to be normal, you got to be yourself, but I think if you're kind of prepared on, there's only so many things people can object to, either in the first 30 seconds when you're calling your leads, maybe at the end after you presented your price and the policy that they can qualify for. There's only so many things you can get for objection. So I want you thinking of the most common objections you get, and we can just rattle through some of those to kind of end the call. We'll go until about 10:30 Pacific, so we got about 22 minutes. I'll give you everything I got on that. Let me know whatever can be helpful into the Q&A if you want to start dropping some of your most common objections, and then we'll rattle through some of those, and hopefully I can give you a specific word, phrase, sentence, something that'll be helpful to you to go and implement right away here today and this week as well. So as you're coming up with some of those objections, I really think if you had to summarize one thing to really be helpful to grow your business, it really does come down to consistency of the schedule of what you're doing. So how many hours a day, how many hours a week, how many hours a month are you devoting to your business? I'm starting to get to work with some other agents myself now, looking back on my own self, listening to other leaders that have built very large organizations. Consistency just seems to be a very common thing, no matter where you're at in your business, of how devoted am I going to be, especially for those of you that are doing this virtually? How devoted am I going to be to consistently work my business, X number of hours a day, a week, a month? So if you haven't set aside time, I would really encourage you to do that. I would also encourage you to try to start tracking what you're doing. So I try to track, when I get into the office, how many follow-up dials I'm making, how many new dials I'm making, how many appointments, I've gotten set specific, how many applications am I putting in, and just kind of try to track some of that. So, it's hard to adjust what you don't track and understand is going on. So, if David Helgeson wants to go make more sales this week, I got to be able to look back to, well, what happened last week or last month that's led me to feeling like I need to make more sales. And, if you don't know your own numbers, it's hard to kind of refigure out what to change and stuff from there. So consistently tracking how many hours you're working a day, how many, dials that you're making, and then how many new leads are you getting as well. I'm as guilty as the next person that I don't buy enough leads. And if I would buy more leads, I would make more money. And that really does ring true for the most part. Now, I've run into people that, will spend gobs and gobs of money on leads, and they're still just kind of banging their head against the wall. That's because you also have to improve what your skill level is too. So you gotta have enough people to talk to, but you also gotta raise your skill level. So, if you think of it, it's almost like putting one foot in front of the other. Like if you're the person that refuses to ever buy any leads, but you just get really good at handling all the objections and you master a script and everything else, you're still going to kind of just walk in circle because you just keep putting one foot in front and not the other. So now you just kind of keep walking yourself in circle. So you gotta, you gotta have enough new people to talk to. But at the same time, you can't just buy a whole bunch of leads and continue to be as good today as you were 6 months ago. If 6 months from now you're still as good as you are right now, that's a problem. Like, you got to continue to work on your craft. So make sure you're talking to enough people, but also make sure that you're perfecting what you're saying so your numbers are going up. We talk about making, 3 to 10 times what you spend in leads. Well, it starts on the 3 end. Maybe for you, it's even on the 2 end. Maybe your first batch leads, you got to go and you're going to kind of, you get to work on the job training and you'll make your money back on what you spent on leads. But now when you buy your next batch or your next 5 batches, your next 20 batches of leads, obviously those numbers should continue to improve. And same thing being true, like don't consistently buy leads for 1 month and then, you know, wait 90 days to try to kind of get things going again. Both of those are going to cause you to kind of just feel frustrated and spin your wheels. So track the consistency. How often are you getting leads? How many dials are you making? How often are you, you know, just kind of, you know, putting the hours into your business. So the consistency is the number one thing to kind of track. So on a Monday morning, for some of you Monday afternoon that are on the East Coast, what can I refocus in this week on to stay consistent? So how many hours do I want to work the rest of today? How many hours do I want to work tomorrow? How many new leads am I going to get this week? What am I doing to be better at closing those leads I'm getting new this week than I was last month? Those are some of the things I would think to tangibly try to start perfecting your craft on. Okay. So if we're all in agreement, we got to make sure we have new people to talk to, and we have to set aside specific time to work our business this week. Now we can start figuring out, well, how do we start to get a little bit better? I personally think handling the front end objections and the back end objections are going to be kind of the easiest way to improve where you're at. So again, if anybody, I have several of these. If anybody in the chat or in the Q&A has a specific objection that they'd like to handle, we can go through those. I'll give you some of my most common ones. We'll just kind of rattle through some of these. And again, don't take all of these. I'm sure there'll be a call to record all this. Try to take one of these and go, yeah, you know what? I heard one of those. I could have maybe done that. And if anything, again, I'm speaking to myself as we're going through this, just take accountability that you could close more sales this week if you decide to get better. See, if we're not going to put it on us and it's always just, oh, my leads suck, or oh, these people are crazy, or oh, it's this type of lead, or you know, whatever. If it's always putting the blame on someone other than ourselves, there's nothing we can do to course correct it. Like if our leads suck, well, then I guess the leads just suck. We're in trouble. But if we're willing to kind of internalize of like, well, what could I have done better? So, you know, take the last 5 clients that either hung up on you in the first 30 seconds, or your last 5 clients that, you know, you presented something to and then they ended up not getting it. They're currently in witness protection right now. They've been abducted by aliens. Some of them, we all have clients that have retired after winning the lottery. They've moved to Bali. They've, you know, blocked our phone number. Why did that happen? So like, yes, some of these people are just a little cuckoo, but there's also things we can do to get better. So if you understand like, okay, what went wrong here, and try to pick some of these objections. And if we go, okay, well, what could I have done better? Now we have a chance the next time we have that same situation, maybe we do close some of them. And you're not going to get everybody, you know, but maybe we close 20%, we can move it up to 30. Well, I mean, that's a dramatic difference in our you know, in our checks that we're going to get in the weeks and months ahead as well. So I think handling some of the objections is just going to be some of the easiest way to do that. So first 30-second objections. First thing, make sure that you know precisely what you're saying every time they get on the phone, and then be ready for what the common thing is. So I do everything virtually. A lot of you guys work in the home as well. A lot of us are working different leads, term leads, final expense leads, IUL leads. They all kind of vary a little bit, but generally speaking, whatever lead you're working, think out what are the 5 most common objections that they could give me. So for example, if I'm working a final expense lead, some of the common objections that I would get, and a lot of these are true all around, but I already took care of it. I didn't fill that out. I'm not interested. Like just think of some of these common things that people would say. And then what is it that you're going to say to that? Because the same way you should know, just like if I'm calling in Ethos leads and I'm saying, Aaron, yeah, Aaron's just David with Ethos, getting back to you about that, blah, blah, blah. And I know exactly what I'm saying every single time. Well, when she tells me that one of the common objections, I need to be able to rattle that objection off the exact same way I was able to rattle off my first line of my script. Okay, so figure out what those common objections are, and then you can start to rattle some of those off. Okay, so for example, if you know, and again, generally speaking, when they give you an objection, you want to agree with them and then you want to get it responded back with a question. So whatever you're saying, neutralizing the objection, you got to get it back to a question when you stop talking. And there can't be any awkward pausing silence. So if I'm calling a final expense lead and I say, hey, Aaron, just getting back to you, blah, 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 and then she says, oh yeah, I didn't fill that out. Well, I need to know something to say and go, oh yeah, that's not uncommon. So this was with, one of our preferred partners. It was a Facebook ad, and you had put in that yesterday that your blah, blah, blah was this. Does that ring a bell? So you're saying something, just having something right there to go and give up. If it's somebody, if I'm calling an aged ethos lead and they tell me that they already took care of it, I go, oh yeah, that's great. About how long ago did you get it taken care of? Oh, 2 days ago? Awesome. Do you remember what company that was with? Oh, it was with blah, blah, blah. Well, hey, while I have you on the phone, would it be reasonable, because we do work with about 30 different carriers, would it be reasonable just to double check if you did get the best policy available? Would that be helpful in case we could save you some money? Like, you just have to have something ready to say to them immediately. Okay, so it doesn't matter what the objection is. You're starting with acknowledging that that's normal, and then you're going to move on from there. In fact, I have a list of common first 30-second objections. I sit right in front of my computer. Nick can get you guys this sheet if you don't already have it. It might already be on our Legacy Life site, but I'll read you a couple of these ones. So, for example, I don't have the time now. Well, if somebody said that to me and it wasn't right in my head, I come down and go, oh yeah, that's not a problem. Hey, I mean, do you just have a couple minutes real quick right now just to see, I guess, if we can even help, or if it's even going to make sense to call you back? So if you've ever called a lead and they go, I'm at work, I can't talk right now, instead of just letting them off the phone, go, oh yeah, no problem. But restart back and go, well, I mean, I guess, would it be okay if I just ask you a couple of things really, really fast just to see if it even makes sense to call back, if we're even going to be able to help you? So instead of pushing off one call, turning into 2, 3, 4 calls, you a lot of times can break right in there, and they're going to understand you're not even selling them something right now. But we need to see if it even makes sense for us to try to call you back. And you're just trying to gather as much information as you can before you have to get off on that first call. Some of those will still turn all the way to where you can close the entire sale in that first call. Okay, so have something ready. But again, that's the most common one that I get in some of the lead types that I work. I already took care of it. We already talked about that. Oh, great, that's not a problem. How long did you get to take care of? Well, perfect. Hey, well, I got you on the phone. Would it be reasonable to offer you one more quote? Just to see if it makes sense, if you even have the best policy available. Notice again the tone of how you can say these things. So yes, it's the words of what you're saying. It's not leaving awkward pauses, but it also is the tonality of your voice. So if they're and especially at the end in some of these objections, you can push back with a concern tone, like, okay, Mary, so I guess if we don't get anything set up, then what are your kids going to do to cover the final expenses? Or I suppose you wouldn't want them to have to pay for that out of pocket if they didn't have to, right? See, I dropped my tone down to I'm concerned for them of what's going on. You could have a curious tone of going, all right, Nick. So I guess what kind of safeguards do you have in place now? You got retirement accounts. You got money in savings. You got some money buried in the backyard. Anything under the mattress? Like, I'm curious. It's kind of playful of what I'm trying. So again, some of these tones can help you as you're going through and set them in kind of in the right way too. Somebody tells you with these final expense forms, I don't remember filling it out. We talked about this earlier. Oh yeah, that's not uncommon. So instead of going, well, yes, you did, I have this stuff, it's like, oh yeah, that's not uncommon to not remember. So it looks like you might have clicked something online. It was with one of our partners about possibly protecting your family from out of pocket funeral expenses. Does that ring a bell at all? So again, it's just very neutral. If anyone gets on the phone and they get super aggressive, and you just go, oh, I apologize if I offended you. You just you catch them off guard of what they're saying instead of, so never argue with them. Just kind of be calm as you're going through with everything. Let's say they tell you they just want the price. Instead of telling them you can't do that, watch this. Oh yeah, I'm trying to fill a quote. I just want the price. Of course you want the price. Just agree with them. Yeah, obviously, of course you want the price. And then you can actually, hey, just send me an email. I want a quote. Send it to my email. Go, yeah, no problem. Of course you want a price. There is about 10 different types of life insurance. So without asking a couple other questions and kind of seeing what you need it for, what you're looking for, I wouldn't even know where to begin. Does that make sense? So you're taking the control back, ending with a question all the time, but just helping them understand You're the professional. You're going to walk them through how this works, not them walking you through it. Okay. So you're getting through really any of these different objections. You're just trying to stay on the phone, keep moving forward. Okay. That would be, let's see here. Okay, perfect. And so I see one of these. So now, again, if I missed any, common objections you get in the first 30 seconds when you're calling a new lead, let me know. We can come back to any of these as well. So the key, you got to survive the first 30 seconds. We all can get more appointments if we would just be ready for the different things that people will give us. Okay. Now you get to the end. And again, a lot of this ends up on how well did you ask the why? Do you know exactly what coverage that they have? Do you know when it's expiring? Do you know the negatives of the coverage that they have? And so how we can poke holes in what they have to show what we need instead. My same Maria lady, she had a term that has 14 years left. And then somebody just sold her another term that she'll have about 20 to 25 years left. Combine those together, same price, IULE, $30 a month cheaper. Now think how crazy that is. She had two different terms, neither is permanent. I know the details of her policy, so now I can come in and show her, hey, why don't we combine those into one policy, not have two policy fees? It's permanent, same coverage, $30 a month less. Do you think that was the easiest no-brainer decision to make? Of course it was. But without knowing all those details, I'm sitting here just maybe trying to add on a small little extra policy. So know what they have, know why they need the coverage for it. This lady thought that she had to have one separate for mortgage protection. This isn't for life insurance. This is mortgage protection. They're like, no, some other IMO just marketed that to you like that so they can sell you a separate policy. Let me come across, combine it all back together, save you some money, and not let it expire. So you got to know why they need it or what they think the coverage is for. You dig into some of that. Now, when you're, letting them know you shopped it around, you're the expert, you're going to, go find them the best available price. You get through all of that. Now you can get the objections on the back end. Okay. So one of the common ones is I can't afford, any extra expenses right now. That's one of them in the Q&A here. So a couple things could be going into that. If you're getting that in the first objections, like, oh yeah, I just really need, they probably have gotten a quote that was outrageous. And so now you can come in and go, yeah, I totally get that, especially, just with the way the economy and stuff is right now, or, I totally get it. You're being on a fixed income, a lot of our clients, in your situation, this and that. So agree with them that you understand kind of where they're coming from. Put them into the box of like, hey, what most of my clients in your situation do. So, they understand their situation. You help people like them all the time. And if they're saying that right away, you can say, why don't we double check? Because we have a bunch of different carriers. And what might have happened is you just got a worse rating. Maybe we can get you a better rating with another carrier. Or you can even just start all the way down. Hey, I mean, sometimes there's policies that start all the way at just a few dollars a month. Like, let's see maybe what would make the most sense for you. Or you go right and, oh yeah, I understand you can't afford extra expense. What do you currently have for life insurance? And now maybe we'll find, well, they can't afford anything extra because they're already spending $250 a month. And instead of trying to get them to spend $50 more, let's go back and see what they're spending the $250 on, and maybe we can fix something there. Now on the end, so that's in the first 30 seconds of when they don't have the extra money. On the end, when we're signing, when we're presenting, okay, so blah, 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 and this coverage, it's $97 a month. And they go, oh, I just can't afford anything extra right now. A really good thing Nick taught me as you're presenting things is you start at like the high end, either the highest that they can qualify for or the highest that was in their budget or what they requested. So let's say somebody said, I'm looking for $50,000 to $100,000 of permanent coverage. And you somehow knew that going into, as you're going to give the quote. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the highest one. Hey, so I know we're looking for this and that, and I re-review, and this is why you wanted it. Do I still have that correct? Great. So here's what I found. Did a lot of good shopping. Found the kind of best case scenario. I know you were kind of looking between 50 to 100. So 100,000 permanent coverage. It's $250 a month. And then I pause and I see what they say. Are they going to go, okay? Are they going to go, oh, more? Are they going to like lose their mind on that? But I'm going to wait, hear what their reaction is. And if I don't get a reaction within a second or two, I'm going to say, so is that, in the budget, near the budget, completely out of the budget? And I'm going to let them respond. If they tell me it's too high, like, oh, that's too high, I can't do that. you agree with them, go, hey, totally get that. And then here's a great phrase Nick had taught me to say. I've kind of kept this ever since. I just go, hey, I get, we'd all love $1 million of coverage, but it's got to make sense and fit the budget. So what's most important to me is for our clients, we set it up in a way that fits the budget, because this is supposed to take stress off of you, Joe Blow client, not add more stress to you. So, I commend you for wanting to get something set up, and absolutely something is going to be better than nothing. But it only really makes sense to do this in a way that it's not going to stress you out and cause you more stress financially. Because the only way, or another phrase you can say is, life insurance is just kind of a weird concept, isn't it? Like, it's the one thing we pay for every month, and we don't even get to see the benefit of it. Like, we're only doing it for our loved ones. Kind of a weird concept, isn't it? And they'll go, yeah, yeah, yeah. And so you're reminding them, like, look, you're not doing this for you. You're setting this up for your family, for the ones that you love. So let's set it up in a way where it's there for them when they need it. And so that's where you're starting at the high. They're telling you. So let me bring all this back in. We told them, hey, the 100,000 was $250 a month. They guessed, hey, totally get it. We got to set this up in a way that makes sense and fits the budget. So 75,000 is $170 a month. Is that a little closer to the budget? And if they say no to that, now we go down to the 50,000. Well, and we just keep working our way down until they kind of don't hem and haw completely at it. Now, you might find a client that's crazy and thinks they're going to get $100,000 of coverage at 72 years old, and they want it for $22 a month. Again, sometimes that just doesn't exist. One really helpful thing, I just heard this. I just heard this the other week for the first time. So if you're ever talking to somebody, especially for those of you that are selling final expense, or even somebody like if you're trying to get them to go from term to final expense, here's the best way I've ever seen to go through that. So you come across a client, and let's say they thought they were going to get 100,000 of term, at 65 years old, and they were going to get it for $100 a month. So they thought they were going to get 100 grand, but really they only can get 25,000 of permanent for that same price. Okay. So in their head, they thought they were getting 100,000, or maybe they have 100,000 already, but it's expiring in a couple years or whatever else. But you got to get them off of term, and you want to get them to understand, hey, here's the value of paying more money for less coverage. Here's how you do that. So you go through and you go, hey, Eli, so here's, let's look at it this way. I'm going to give your family 2 briefcases, Eli. Okay. The first one's going to have $100,000 in it, but there's only a 3% chance your kids are going to get it. The second one has 25,000 in this briefcase, but there's a 100% chance it's going to your kids. Which briefcase do you want? And you pause. See, because what happens is, especially as you're talking to these older people, especially everyone that's selling final expense, you need to beat in their head, don't fall in love with this sexy price that you got that has 2 or 3 or 5 years remaining on it. You need, while you're still healthy, to lock in the best permanent coverage that you can, because term policies on average pay out about 3% or less of the time. So especially these older people where there's only a few years left on it, hey, I get it that you're in love with this $200,000 of coverage for $40 a month, but the only way that pays out is if you die in the next 2 years. So I get it. Only the Lord knows the day or the time, but you have to help people understand you're spending that $46 a month for absolutely nothing unless you die in the next 2 years. Otherwise, it's completely worthless. You could just go burn the money. So whereas the permanent coverage, we got to get that. So when you explain in the briefcase, like, hey, I get it. I'd love my kids to have 100 grand, but do you want to take a risk that there's only a 3% chance they actually get the 100 grand? Or for the same price, you just want to give them 25 grand and know that they're getting it? So that's another nice way to kind of play around with some of the expenses of that. Last one I'll go through as we're wrapping up here. Unless I've missed anybody else's, I don't think so. If you're getting the I need to talk to the spouse, so a couple ways we can handle that. The easiest way, though, is, again, it all comes back to, don't over-present like it's just a foregone conclusion they're going to get their coverage. Okay? So I'm running through, and take Maria here the same way. So no prescriptions, non-smoker, one of the healthiest 61-year-olds I've ever seen. And I'm going through, and I have a 99% chance in my head, I'm picturing that she's going to get approved for this IULE this morning. But when I present it, it's still going, well, okay, so here's what's going on. Here's the cost. We could actually save you $30 a month. She goes, okay, that sounds great. And I go, okay, great. So our next step, if that's appropriate, we'll put an application in. Now, she doesn't want it to start until July 3rd. Which, by the way, MooPay is at issue, so means absolutely nothing to me. I'm going to get paid this week. no problem. They want to start in July. That's one of the advantages to selling like Moo or Royal Neighbors is like that the same way. I think Prosperity might be like that as well. So there's some of these companies where even if they're going to pay a month later, you can get paid right now. But I'm not overselling. So I'm still saying, well, so we still got to put the next step is put the application in. Now, you're not going to have to pay until July 3rd, but we got to find out if we can even get you qualified. Because if we can't get you qualified, like I think we can, but if we can't get you qualified, we don't want to change anything yet. So I'm not making a foregone conclusion we're guaranteed. So the same thing of like you present something, go, okay, that's great. Let me go talk to my husband. So it's like, well, yeah, that's totally no problem. We can do that. But we still need to double check if we can even get you qualified. Because if we can't get you qualified, there's really not a whole lot to talk about. So the same thing when they're debating on, I'm going to try to decide if I want to do the 50,000 or the 100,000. Start on the lower one, or if they're trying to decide, like if they think they're going to do it, but they're going to talk to their spouse. Either of those objections, you just come back and go, so here, why don't we do that? It sounds like you're just between, which one, or it sounds like you're probably going to want to do. You're just, going to discuss with your spouse which amount. If you can get them to kind of commit to that, you go, why don't we do this? Let's start on the low end, because it sounds like the $72 a month is definitely in the budget, right? Okay, but you're debating if you want to do the 72 a month or the 128 a month. Well, why don't we start with the lower one? We'll see if we can even get you approved, because I know you're trying to kind of think of which one you want to do, but the insurance company, they got a lot to think about too, because if you somehow get hit by a bus in 2 months, like they're the ones that got to go dish out the $50,000 to your family. So like they got to think about it, probably even more than we have to think about it. Why don't we do this? Let's see if we can even get you approved, because I'd hate for you to get really excited, go talk to your spouse, come back to me on Monday, and have your heart set on getting the coverage, and then we can't even get it approved anyway. So why don't we start with, okay, this one's in the budget. Let's start, we'll put the application in, see if we can get you approved. Doesn't mean you're not paying today. We'll set that payment up for, 2 weeks from now. And during that time, if you decide, let's say we do get you approved and you decide you want to raise the coverage, or, once you talk to your husband, once you talk to your kids, if you decide you even want a little more coverage, that's no problem. In the first couple of weeks, we can change that pretty easily for you. Would that be helpful? So you're always, if you have to, sell the lower one, because there's not as much, it's not as big of a commitment, and let them know, hey, it's no problem if you want to call me back and add more on. That'll be no problem to do over the next few weeks anyways. So sometimes you can get through that of just helping them understand, like, don't go think about this all big and long, hoping that it's all going to work out. And then you get on and it gets declined anyways. So handle the objections in the first 30 seconds, get you to more calls. Being able to get to the application without them kicking you off multiple more times, helpful as well. Now, I don't insanely hard close anybody. Can you hard close them in? Yes, but sense what's going on. If they're trying to bite off a $400 a month payment, most people are not going to keep a $400 a month payment. So don't be afraid to encourage them to do a little less so it stays on the books, or makes them feel comfortable, and we can always add a little bit later. Don't be afraid to, talk to them like they're your grandma, like they're your dad, like they're your cousin. And just, let them know this is the same thing I would be telling my family this way. Don't be afraid to speak with conviction that you are confident, you know what you're doing. You did the research, you did the legwork, you checked the underwriting. This is if we can get you qualified, this is the best thing out there. Like, this is a great thing if we can get you qualified, and we should give it a shot to see if we can pull that off. It's coming from that way. And again, at the end, be yourself. Don't have some weird salesy voice and everything goofy. Like, people can tell, especially on telesales, they're going to tell if you're completely a goofball or not. So don't, talk how you are. Okay. If you have a Southern accent and you are a quiet speaker, be you. If you have a Midwestern accent and you talk fast, be you. You can try to kind of dial some of this stuff in a little bit, but don't get away from just being yourself. Okay. And truly try to help them like it's your family member. Talk to them like it is your family member, and try to do right by them. That was one of the best advices that Nick ever gave me that first week of just like, look, all we're trying to do is make a friend and see if we can help somebody out. So try to truly help them, try to do what's in their best interest. And a lot of the objections are going to go away from that. But you got to have enough new people to talk to, and you got to be working on your objections if you're going to be able to accomplish those kind of things. So that is all of my time, everybody. I apologize for being a few minutes late in here. Sorry for missing everybody in Denver. Again, hope everyone that was there had a great time. Hopefully that helps. Again, if you needed some of these objection sheets, get a hold of Nick. I believe we have those somewhere that we can get out to some people and whatnot as well. And again, look at this week. How many new leads am I going to get? How many hours am I going to consistently go work? And then what can I do to improve? What sale did I lose last? Look back on it. What went wrong in that sale? What could I have said differently if I get that exact same conversation again to give me a better chance of closing it the next time around? We work on some of those things. There's no way our checks aren't going to continue to go up through the summer and through the rest of the year. So appreciate everyone for jumping on. Can't wait to see everybody in North Carolina at our next big event coming up here the beginning of August. And we'll see everyone next week, same time, same exact Zoom. God bless everyone. Have a great day.